Taking a motherboard out of a case, especially if you've never built a computer before, can be very daunting. So in today's video tutorial, I'm going to be showing you just how to do this safely. Coming up, roll the intro. Hey name tags and welcome. This is Ash from In My Tech, helping you go from newbie to techie. So if everything goes to plan, I'm going to be releasing this video back to back with part 1 of my troubleshoot series. You can see the link above or the description below for more details. I already did an introduction where I show the 10 main components of any computer device, and I also explain how a computer works from the moment you turn it on. This is going to be a standalone video. But in that first video that I'm going to do, we actually have to take the motherboard out. So I thought I'd do this as a separate video you can refer to. So hopefully we'll see a back-to-back release. Okay, so before you work on any electronic device, please take some general precautions. So number 1, make sure you are unplugging and switching off everything before you work on them. Number 2, make sure you're working on a surface which is non-conductive to electricity. So things like fabric materials or beds or sofas or carpets are terrible, and they will increase your chance of getting electrocuted or getting your electronic components electrocuted. So please be careful. Wood is brilliant, cardboard is okay, so any non-conductive material. You could also buy something more specifically designed for them, and plenty of links online, you can look it up. Right, also the advice as well, some people do this, is to have something like that, which is called an anti-static wrist bracelet. They're quite cheap on eBay or Amazon. I'll put some links below. They probably will be affiliate links, so please check for details. The idea is to strap it on your arm, or you can also use your ankles. Okay, and the end tip clip, you need to actually clip to a metallic part of something which is grounded. So in that way you can work safely, and any static electricity will discharge to earth. If you don't have this, I actually don't like using these much, they get in my way. You can also do something called discharging static electricity from your body by touching a metallic part of the case or something else, again, which is grounded. And the way to ground something, like in this case, you need to have the plug for the power plugged in but switched off, as long as the thing is grounded to earth, right? So make sure you do this, and obviously touch a metallic part. And in this case, the case is actually metallic. The power supply inside is also metallic, but I'll show you more later. So as usual, this is a tutorial for a guide only. So if you are unsure, consult a professional, otherwise do at your own risk. Okay, so this is a typical desktop scenario where you have a case or a tower, and then you're gonna have a monitor, a keyboard, and mouse. And you'll have various things connected at the back. You may also have speakers, or you're going to have the Ethernet cable or whatever. So to take the motherboard out, you're going to have to access one of the side panels, which is either on the right or left side, depending on the design. This is a traditional mid-tower case. In my previous video, I talked about there are some proprietary designs, some weird shaped like small form factors case. To take them out, the motherboard is a bit more complicated, even to get the side panel off. So we may need to do a specific video for that to show a few examples. I'm talking here mainly about a standard size mid-tower case, or any standard size case, right? Okay, at the back, the first thing you need to do is going to need to unplug everything connected to it. So you may have USB mouse, you may also have PS2 mouse or parallel ports. Whatever you've got, just disconnect them, including speakers. You may have a VGA cable. This is an HDMI cable, but you may have other types of VGA cable connected to the graphics card, or if there are video ports on the motherboard itself. So disconnect everything you see, right? The next thing you need to do is there will be usually screws holding the side panel. You can have screws on the front or back of the side panel. And in this one, there are two types of screws, and I've put both just to give an example. The one type of screws is called thumb screw, and like it indicates, you can just use your thumb to release it, okay? If it's tight, just use a screwdriver, undo it a bit, and then use your thumb for the rest. Now there is a second type of screw, which is this one down here, and this is a normal screw. You can use a normal screwdriver to undo it, right? But I prefer to actually use an electrical one. Makes my job a lot easier, so I'm going to do just that. Okay, right, so make sure you keep your screws in a safe place. One of the better ways to keep your screws safely is either to have a magnetic tray, or after you've unscrewed things and pulled the panel off, you put the screw back where it should be, so you keep them safe, right? So do bear that in mind. All right, one advice I will give you generally, and I did this as a mistake when I was starting out, is before you unplug things or disconnect or disassemble things, take pictures as much as possible. Take very clear pictures. Even the screws, if you're not sure what screw you've got weird screw size, and just take pictures of where things go as you disassemble or as you open. Okay. The power supply, generally you don't need to take off. If you need to take the motherboard, there might be some rare exceptions, so I'm going to leave them in. As you can see, there's also, I've put both kind of screws in there, the thumb screws and the normal screws, right? Okay, now with many cases, all you need to do is once you take off the screws, you're going to have to slide it off. Just pull and slide off. In this older model, this is an old Antec case. It's probably over 10 years old. There's actually a latch where you clip, pull towards you, and it opens up like that, right? So other ones, you just have to just slide out, and there are various other mechanisms. So obviously you have to consult the manual for your case to find out how to do that. Okay. Now, don't worry if this looks a bit scary to you. We're going to go through this one at a time. I'm going to push this out of the way. All these cables are very badly managed. So again, please take pictures before you start, okay? Right, I'm going to show you a power supply. Now, you're going to have to disconnect the motherboard from two ends, the back and the front. The front there is front panel connectors, and the back there will be like power supply, etc. And then throughout the case also you have other things connecting, like maybe fans or other devices. I'm going to go through it. Don't be too discouraged right now. The power supply, so you can have an idea, has a few main components, and one of them is this 20+4 pin power pin, and which connects onto the motherboard directly. This is what gives the motherboard all the power, right? And you may see there's a small latch, and that clips into one side. Most of the things have a small latch or a hook or a tab, and it clicks only one way. So to undo anything, you're gonna have to find the latch and just press and then pull out, okay? It's like Lego pieces, nothing great. So that's one thing we're gonna pull out. The other one is what we call the PCI plugs for the graphics card. And you can have them in various configurations, 6 or 6 and 8 or 8 and 8 or 12, whatever it is, yeah? Right, again, there are small tabs or latches. We pull them off. Right, so that's two type of things. And then you're also going to have various SATA connectors for the SATA drives, like your hard drive or DVD drive or whatever else. And they look like that. These are to give power to the drives. We'll have to pull them off. You also have, and they're diminishing now, what's called the Molex connectors. There are these things with the 4 holes, and these connect to things like these Molex connectors. This is a fan one. You can also have this in a old drive, for example. That's generally what you're going to have. Now, you also have what's called a CPU plug, and it looks a bit similar to the PCI one. And this one is an 8-pin, right? There's 2 4-pins. Some motherboard have 8, some motherboard have 4. They actually come off. I'll show you. There you go. So in this one, the power supply actually has 8, but only one of it is plugged in. So we have a 4-pin connector, right? Again, tabs to pull off. So let's get on with it. I'm going to pull this on the best to work on its side. So just make sure you have a flat surface, and we're going to bring the camera over. Alrighty then. Okay, so there is no specific order to do this, right? Because it will vary from case to case. In some builds, you will see that all these cables are actually better managed, and they will be tied in with zip ties or other sorts of ties. So you're going to have to cut them off sometimes or just undo them. Just bear that in mind. So what order should you proceed? It doesn't make much difference, right? But what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what I would do usually. Like I said, to discharge, before you touch the component, make sure it's plugged in and you can touch that. This is the power supply or the metallic part, as long as it's grounded before you touch anything. Try not to work on carpets as well, even on your floor. Be very careful. Okay, I would start with the DVD drive because it's easy. So you pull off the data cable and the SATA power cable, right? You may have more drives, just unplug them and try to get them out of the way as much as you can. Next, I would do the PCI Express, which is this one. This one only has a 6-pin plug, so clip and pull off. If you want to, just hold the graphics card. In some computers, you won't have the graphics card, so you won't have that, right? Out of the way, right? Next, I would want to, if you want to be very systematic, you kind of work from front to back or back to front. Again, that's up to you. But I'm going to leave the front panel connectors. I'll show you later. It's a bit complicated. Right. Next, I'm going to see if there's any other thing I can unplug. In this one, I had put an old IDE cable. These are the flat strips, flat ribbon strips, just connecting an old DVD drive here. So again, just find it. Be careful. Some cheaper models, you may, cut yourself because they are rough edges, and the higher end models don't have this. So find the plug and try not to pull from the cable, but rather grab at the bottom of where the plug meets the ports and pull off. And this is the old style IDE cable. They're not in fashion anymore, thank God for that. And also the Molex, can unplug that. Some of them are stuck. There you go. Where's the Molex gone? Right, the Molex, we've unplugged that. Put them out of the way, Okay, right. I'm not going to need this cable, so I know I'm just going to pull it off from the motherboard itself. Right, it's the same on both ends. So I'm going to just put this out. That was just to show you. All right, there are all these other cables which, if you want to, it's probably best to take them off. It's a SATA data cable, and as long as you remember where it goes back, remember the pictures, yeah? Every time you take something off, as clear as possible. All right, so which is left with, when I showed you the CPU and the main 20+4 power cable. Now, I'm going to do the power cable first. Again, look for the pin. Some of them will be on this side, others will be on the other side. So try to feel where it is. You may need to press the tab and then pull. Be careful. All right, it should come off. Don't apply too much force. There you go. We've taken it off, and then we're going to be left with the 4-pin, which is also an 8-pin in some cases. Again, look for the tab, press and pull up. Right? There you go. Wasn't that difficult? No, it was very easy. Okay, so that's out of the way. You don't necessarily need to do the power supply. In most cases, you may have a case where the power supply needs to be taken off. But like I said, we're going to cover this in a different video. But at this stage, I wouldn't bother. If you can get these cables out of the way safely and be able to access the inside, you can see I've disconnected most of the stuff. There's a couple of things left. I'm going to show you that. All right, now at the bottom here, you have some other connectors. They can usually be from PCI cards or things at the back connected. Like in this case, I've got a spare USB port. Right, you see that at the back, at the bottom, sorry. I'm gonna have to take them off. But usually the graphics card is gonna be in the way, and we need to take that off. The graphics card is usually secured by some screws on the side. It can also be thumb screws. In this case, we've got a normal screw here. So first thing, let's unscrew that. It's best that you use a magnetic screwdriver. If you don't have one, just get a magnet and, you know, and magnetize that. You can just, you know, like scrape it over the magnet, it will magnetize so you don't lose the screws. In this one, I've only got one screw. You may have two or more. Now, graphics card to pull off, there is a latch. It sits in a PCI Express port. I don't know if you can see the orange part there, right? And there's a latch, there's a small mechanism which you need to undo. You can't see it from this end. I'll show you once we take the motherboard off. But essentially, this is a different graphics card, but it's the same principle. You have these grooves, these edges, and you've got this small tab here. So there's a mechanism that locks it. You need to just pull, so it unlocks it, and then you can pull the whole thing off. Again, I'll show you at the end what it looks like. So you may want to see the video till the end before you attempt to take this off. Believe me, some people have problems with taking out a graphics card. If I can give you a peek, I might be able to. Through here, there's a small latch. I'm just going to put my finger in and press left to just release it. So I'm going to put my finger in, and then I'm going to grab the whole card. I'm pulling left, grab the whole card, and there you go. I've pulled the graphics card off. Be careful not to put too much strength on the plastic part or the fan. You may break something. Again, watch the video till the end to see how this actually plugs in, so you'll be able to know how we can take it off. Right, put this to the side. Okay, let's have a look inside. Now you are able to have access to a lot more. The graphics card is out. Here's the latch I was talking about. So literally you pull this to the left and that tab makes way, so you can pull the whole thing off. All right, you may have other cards in the PCI slots. Only the graphics card has got a tab, and also this one. So whatever it is, you use the same principle. Groovy. You don't need to touch the RAM. It's not necessary. Okay, so now we're going to undo or unplug all the bottom things, which are mostly things which are connected to the front panel. And you're gonna have things like speaker cable, grab it and pull it off. You're gonna have things like USB. They can be 2.0, which is black, or 3.0, or more modern ones may have different colors. I'm not too sure, but just pull them off. Pull them off. Okay, right. So that's all the USB stuff and speaker stuff connected. You may see fans. This is a Molex one, but there may be other type of 3-pin fans connected to motherboard. If you see them, again, unplug everything you see. Right, the last thing that's remaining are the annoying and quite troublesome front panel connectors. Things like for the power switch, the reset button, the HDD or LED lights. So they're very difficult. Again, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the motherboard up close so you can see what we're doing. But I would definitely advise, if anything you need to take a picture of, is the bottom bit down there. Very annoying. So unplug everything. Okay, and these are the small little culprits. Right, so have a quick inspection and make sure everything is unplugged, and we're good to go. You don't need to take the CPU off, not just yet anyway. We won't need to do that, or the RAM, you can leave them there. All right, so the last thing to do is in this motherboard there are openings for screws to secure them onto what's called standoffs. Again, another video I'm going to show you. And those standoffs, they are little, very tiny, but they create some sort of height between the motherboard and the case so that you place it on them. So there usually would be at least about 6 holes for the screws. There can be 8, there can be more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 9 in there, but you have to undo all of them. Okay, again, normal Phillips screwdriver would do the trick. Magnetic screwdriver, much better. I did take out most of them before, so I've only got a couple left, so I'm just going to take them off. One is here, right? Let me just get a magnetic one. Right, you may want to tie these out of the way if you wish, those cables. I've got one here. I do sometimes use electric screwdriver, right? Guys, you can see this is not rehearsed and not planned. Yeah, I'm doing this just on the fly, but I hope the message gets through. Now, I'm just gonna, oops, they dropped off. Shouldn't be a problem if they dropped off, you know, because you are going to be taking them off. You may want to use tweezers to get them off if you wish. That's totally your call. I'm a pro, so I don't need tweezers. Haha. Oops, dropped off again. All right, so I'm just having a quick look to see if I've taken off all the screws, which is retaining the motherboard to the case. Looks like I have, because I don't want to be pulling and then, you know, breaking something. Right. Again, you may want to get as much cables out of the way as possible. This will help with taking the motherboard off. Try to get things out of the way. Work in order. I mean, I'm pretty confident with this. I've done this before. All right. Okay. Like I said, in this case, I don't need to take the power supply off. At this point, it's up to you if you want to take the plug off. I'm still using this to discharge myself, so I'm going to leave it plugged in. Okay. And the motherboard, right? We need to pull this kind of inwards and then off. This one doesn't have a shield. I think I forgot to put the shield. I do have a shield, I just didn't put it. So you will usually see an IO shield here. The same principle. I'm pretty sure you know what a shield looks like. But if you have a shield, it's a bit more difficult, but you should be, if you're gentle, you should be fine. You can grab by the cooler and pull up this way. Kind of this edge pulls up first. The reason is if you have the shield, you need to pull it inwards. And then gently, you know, edge your way out. You need to move cables out of the way. And here we go. We got the motherboard. Right. Right. And inside you can see the standoffs I was talking about, right? You may want to, at this point, remove the damn plug. Okay. Alrighty. So we got the motherboard. You can actually use anything carton, like a box. It's a good non-conductor to use for examining motherboards. Right. Okay. Now here's the motherboard, and I'm going to switch over to a different camera to show you a bit of a close-up. Okay, so I haven't switched cameras, I've just switched the angles. I'm hoping this is going to be clear enough. So quick look at the motherboard, the cooler, processor underneath, this is the RAM, and this was the 20+4 pin plug. This was for the IDE plug and the SATA cables, right? This was where the the PCI Express card for the graphics card was. Sorry, I did tell you I'm going to show you how to operate this damn thing. So this plugs, so there you go. This is the latch. We pull to the left, okay? And that kind of just sits in there in the groove. And that's plugged in. And if you can see in, I hope you can see that in there. There's a latch, and this is where to get your finger in and pull it to the left. Can you see the latch? Maybe you can. I'll show you a picture if it's not clear, but that's where you can access it. Sometimes in the case it's very difficult to access this. You may need to use like a pen or a screwdriver, whatever. But the idea is put your finger in, pull to the left, grab the graphics card and pull up, and it should come off easily. Okay. Now, these smaller things, right? Let me see if I can hold it up to the camera as close as possible. I'll focus this a bit better. Okay, where is it? Okay, here you are. I hope it's focused. If not, I'm gonna do a different camera. These pins are for the front panel pins. Very annoying, and there are labels at the bottom, or it can be at the top or on the side. These pins are very difficult for newbies, and I may need to do a separate video just to explain how to plug these correctly or unplug them, or how to understand them. All right, so right, and that's about it. So now we've got the motherboard out, we can proceed with other parts of the troubleshoot. Thank you so much for watching. Now do remember, this is just a standalone video. I'm sorry it took a bit long. I had to show because, you know, some people, they don't understand how to do this and they're quite scared, so we have to teach everyone. And please refer back to my introduction series, and hopefully this will be a back-to-back release with the other video, which is going to be part 1, and it's about why a case could be causing your computer not to turn on, or if it turns on it's for a few seconds only, or there's no display. So please check it out. Once again guys, thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so. Leave me a comment or question below. You can contact me on various platforms shown on the screen, hopefully. And do remember to ask the right type of questions. Refer to that video, and I shall see you in the next video. Until next time, peace out.